I'm with Dave Warple, and we're at the 50th anniversary of the MG Midget, and we're also celebrating Sprites and Spridgets at this time, too. Would you tell us a little bit about the event and how it got organized?
Well, we actually started about 2 years ago for the 50th anniversary of the Sprite, which was at Lake of the Ozarks. And we liked it so much, and we had people from all over the country, that we decided in 2011 was the 50th anniversary of the MG Midget. So we put together a proposal, a bunch of us from Wisconsin and Northern Illinois, and to have it at Elkhart Lake at the historic racetrack. And here we are at the host site of Victorian Village, Seaman's famous resort right down the block, and we're having a great time. It's running from July 18th to the 22nd, and we, like I say, we have people from all over. We've had a hearty bunch of several guys that drove from Washington State. One gentleman drove solo all the way from Jupiter, Florida. We have a family with us that we're honoring. As we get older, we lose some people, and the family drove all the way from New Jersey and to be here with us because Frank would have wanted it, and we appreciate them coming all the way. We know it's difficult for them. We also lost another gentleman from the Northwest, and the guys that drove from the Northwest are kind of honoring Paul S. Gerson as well. So Paul S. Gerson and Frank Clarisi are in our thoughts, and the families are in our prayers during this event. We have approximately 50 cars. Tuesday, we have a car show out at the Sheboygan Marsh, and we'll categorize them according to mark and model number. We're going to have a pig roast, and give some of the non-native, non-Wisconsinites a taste of Wisconsin. There was a tour to a local cheese factory that really went over big, and a lot of cheese was sold. I hope it got refrigerated, however, because we're in a heat wave up here, and we're finding out how our little cars run in hot weather. We're looking forward today to going out to the track at Road America and getting a track tour, and we're doing an autocross on the Motoplex complex. Thursday is our last day, and we're starting out in the morning with a tour of the Kettle Moraine down to Parnell, Esker, and back through some little twisty bits that should be fun if it's not too warm. And we'll take the afternoon off and hit the lake, and we have our banquet in the evening. We have a silent auction. We have tributes to the two members that I mentioned before. And our speaker is author, humorist, and self-proclaimed ride mooch Bert Levy of Last Open Road series fame. And he'll be here to entertain us as well. We have a wonderful committee, and we've had a couple of people that really helped out and could not be here because of health reasons. Jim Johnson, Dodge City, Kansas. Larry Daniels from Oshkosh. And we have Peter Caldwell and Ron Suave, Chris Manuel, Trevor Jesse, who helped with the car show, and Dave Lieb, who's going to be running the autocross, and has just been helping out super with the computer. And I can't say enough about the people of from Victorian Village and Seaman's who have bent over backwards to accommodate an influx of almost 100 people at times. It's been an enjoyable experience working with these people.
I'm with Dan Donahue, and he has a 1965 Midget, and he's from West Allis, Wisconsin. Dan, tell me a little bit about the car.
I bought the car, ordered it from Car France in Cleveland, Ohio on January 30th, 1965. I was going to go to the Army and stationed in Germany in May of 65, so I ordered the car ahead of a time and planned to have delivery in July 1st of 65 in London, England. Before I went to get the car, 2 days before I was ready to leave, I get a telegram from BMC telling me that due to some kind of a work stoppage, the car would not be ready for pickup. So about 7 weeks later, the middle of August, they sent me another telegram saying that one MG Midget with the marker number was available for pickup at BMC Holland Park, London, West 1, England. So I got a pass and then took the duty train over to Hoek van Holland, took the ferry to Harwich, took the train from Harwich to London and picked up the car. One of the interesting things about it is when I ordered the car, I could pick my color. I had to pick 3 colors, and I wasn't sure what color it would be. When I got there and I saw it was green, it was like having your firstborn son be a boy or a girl or whatever you wanted.
That would have been your choice.
That was my first choice, and I got my first choice.
All right.
And the intent was to keep the car forever, which I've done. It's an original car. It's had a little bit of touch-up work where it needed it. It's on its 3rd set of tires. The original spare's still in the trunk. It shows 45,000 miles. It's been licensed in 7 states. It's been over quite a bit of Europe. It's been in England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Holland, Germany, Belgium. So it's been around. But it was never really a daily driver getting pounded in the Midwest with all the salt. That's what saved it. Yep. In the fall of 92, spring of 93, I detailed the snot out of it. And I had the wheels powder coated. I did have that done. And I took some of the battery box apart, the air filters off, and that to clean around the spots in the engine. Touched up a little bit here and there, but not much. Out of all the BMC cars that were available in January of 65 at the showroom, they had one just like this sitting there, and this was my pick. And that was between a Spitfire, a Sprite, a Midget, a 3000, a Triumph TR4, and an MGB. So they're all 6 cars were there in the showroom at once. So yeah, it was neat. It was a Car France in Cleveland, Ohio.
Well, it's a beautiful car, and it's nice to see one in such original condition. Thank you, Dan.
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you for visiting with me.
I'm with Jeremy and Paula, and they're from Ontario, Canada. What city?
Sault Ste. Marie. 360 miles.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is kind of a special event for you, I know, especially with the car, because on the front of the car, on the hood, it says "Just Married."
Yes.
Tell me about that.
That would have been last Saturday we got married, and July 9th, yeah. And so went back to work for 4 days, and then hopped in the car and headed down here.
Oh, great. All right. Now, were you aware this was going to happen?
Yes, I knew that we were going to go on a car show a week after we're married, or 4 days after, and I told him that he can't consider it a honeymoon. So he's taking me on an official honeymoon to Finland next summer. Yeah, but it's nice to be down here, and it's been fun driving down. Yeah, so it was a nice getaway.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the car.
This car here is a 74 MG Midget that I bought just last October. I actually looked at it 2 years ago, but the price was too high. But I found a motivated seller a couple years later. And in addition, I have a 67 MG Midget at home. So now I've got the start and the finish of the 1275-year cars. And so planning a wedding, we just got engaged in March and planned and executed a wedding in 4 months. So I haven't done a whole lot of work to the car. It's just been a half an hour here, an hour there to get it ready for this big road trip. But so far so good, and I got some spares in the trunk, so we're good.
We all have to carry spares.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And did he give you enough room for your luggage?
Not really.
No.
We had to pack all our clothes in one bag, so it made it a little difficult because I come with a lot of stuff, but we managed.
Rear visibility isn't so good when the suitcase is on the luggage rack.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I hope you have a good time here and enjoy our warm weather.
Oh yeah, it's been very warm, but a great time. We had a great ride this morning. It's fun to see all the Spridgets out in front of you and in the rearview mirror when we're doing the ride this morning. It was great. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
line.
All right, let's go. Yeah.
5:30 this morning. About a 6-7 hour cook, depending on the size of the animal.
I'm with Mark Hayes, and he is from Colorado, and that city was again? Nederland, Colorado. And he has a 1958 Bug-Eye Sprite. Can you tell us about the car?
Well, the 58 Sprites, they built just about 8,200 or so Sprites in 1958. What got me interested looking for a Sprite was our passing of the Holy Sprite across the country. I volunteered and dragged the Holy Sprite for about 300 or 400 miles. And
now this, again, the Holy Sprite was an unrestored car that was being passed around from club to club. Is that right, throughout the country?
Being passed from one driver to another, all the way from California to New Jersey, where a group of us put it together, restored it, painted it, reassembled it for a retiring Catholic priest who had wanted one ever so much when he went into the seminary, which was in 1958, and he had never had one. And Frank Clarisi put this all together, and this, Father Jack was so happy when he got it, and they gave it to him on the very day of his last communion, as performed communion. So it was a wonderful thing to do, and that got me thinking that I really wanted one of these. I've got a Mark II at the time that was in bare metal, and that would consume a lot of time and trouble. So I started looking for one, and I found this one about 40 miles from my house on eBay, actually, and went down and took a look at it, and it had never been hit in the rear end, and it had a hard top on it, and that was kind of about it. I brought it home. The guy had brake problems with it, and he'd had a man take the brakes off of it, and he was going to do the work on it, and the guy who did it put them in boxes and kind of promptly vanished. So it sat there for 20 years with rain getting in the brake drums and the wheel cylinders, and when I bought it, that was what I got, was a box of brakes, and I put the Mark II brakes on it, the brakes from the Mark II on it, and I actually had it on the road and driving inside of 1 month.
Wow.
So I like to drive it. I love to drive it. I've put race suspension springs underneath it. I've got full race tire DOT race radials on it. And I just love taking people for rides.
What are your plans for the future?
Well, eventually I will repaint it. I'm going to have somebody finish the bonnet, and I will repaint it. I'm thinking I'm going to go back to the original Old English white, but my daughters want me to paint it red. So, red base with a white top, white hard top, I like it.
Yeah.
White car with a white top, I like that too.
Got him as long as you vote for as many, he'll take it.
Follow me. Well, take charge. Who's not? I trust Card. Back up and like you're going home. We're going to go over there. We're going to park in free road.
Oh yeah, I'll take them babies. They're nice. Come on, too long. They went on Thursday night, so. Yeah. How much longer? I bought a set. It'll become permanent. Yeah, the car. I just got it. They will. Yeah. You can set your timing at idle, and that's part of the basic tune. You set your timing at idle. How do you know what your distributor is going to do at 1,500 RPM, 2,000, and 2,500, and 3,000? You can rev it all the way up till it's done advancing and see what it's doing there, but most people don't take the time to map what it's doing in the middle. And that's where you gain your throttle response. If you can run maximum timing without the engine paying at all RPMs, you're going to have a really fast, fun to drive, snappy throttle responsive car. And if you stick with the stock advance curves that were designed in the 50s and early 60s especially, they're set up for cold-leaded fuel. It's an entirely different chemical than what we have in the pumps now. So you look at an advance curve that was designed for 1960. It worked beautifully in 1960, but you run it on today's gas, it's okay. Sometimes, most of the time, British cars have way too much advance. You just advance right out of your power curve right away. Or you set your timing for total advance, and then about 3 grand, you got great throttle response, but at lower RPMs, the thing stumbles. So my whole goal is to take these old original distributors and tweak them and get them to a point where you get that original throttle response like when the car was brand new. It's fishing for me in one way because I want you to learn something about your car. You know, sometimes people say, well, I have a huge ignition problem, it's not firing number 4. I'm like, well, start by doing a compression check. Give me those numbers. And I'll see 150, 150, 140, 10. That's your ignition problem. Let's start there, you know?
Welcome to Road America, everybody. As soon as we get everybody up here, I'll do a short little spiel, and those that are in the back, they're holding everything up so we can give them a hard time.
Come on, Seth, move it!
If you wish to change who is riding with you, just pull off here on the asphalt here on the left in this area, and where we're going to go out from, and you can come back out then, just in with traffic. After we're done, safely come back out on the track after you change passengers. If you go too fast,
Black flag.
no, I just end the session with this group. It's real simple. So you know, then mob rule takes over. We'll do 4 or 5 laps, and then we'll come in, maybe more.
45 laps, is that right?
4 or 5 laps, yeah, 45. No, but we will come back in here where we're coming out from. There is passing. I will allow passing, but only in the straightaways. No passing in the corners. And if I get told from race control that you're putting big gaps in so you can charge forward, it's real easy. Then I just slow down more till we get everybody bunched up. And there's one vehicle you cannot pass, and that's the Corvette, the base car. That's the only one you can't pass. And when you come back in, we have all this area you can park in up here. If you can find some shade. And we'll be going into the building to the north of us there, into Suite 3 for your luncheon.
We're probably not going to have as much fun as the track tour. Darn it, that was the best track tour I've been on here. So Macy passed me. So, we're stalling for time here while waiting for the errands group to get off of the Motorplex. Hopefully they will be out of the way. It will take us some time to get the course set up, the timing lights and arrows, and I'm expecting to get 4 runs at least in this afternoon. We will see. You can predict till you're blue in the face, but reality gets in the way. I've got course maps here. Now I know some of you looked at them on the thing. If you are a driver, take one and pass it along. go straight. There's nothing to stop you going straight. You go straight.
Yeah, that's where I went.
But here you turned left and went down that road.
Because the designated NC had more pressing business and was unexpectedly pulled home. So, what we're going to be doing today, this evening, is enjoying our last night together, having a great dinner, remembering a couple of very important people to our virtual club and group here, and having an auction and hopefully having some fun. So I would like to welcome you on behalf of the organizing committee, the people that worked really hard to put all of this together. And I'd like to ask you to please give a hand to those people. And someone to write also several people who were very involved in this but were not able to be here. Larry Daniels, Jim Johnson in Dodge City, Gerard, a lot of people, and also, you know, what's really terrific is people, this is a small group, people that have come from really far away and have driven across the country and have come together here, and you know, for me it was an opportunity to put faces with names that I've known for 10 or 12 years. So it's really been very nice. I was going to start the introduction of our speaker by saying this is someone who, among sports car, especially vintage sports car fans, needs no introduction. But then he gave me these two decals and he said I had to say something. So Bert's always been very good at letting everyone know about himself, and so I'm going to let Bert step up to the podium. Thank you, Bert.
Thank you all. It's a thrill to be with you here at Elkhart Lake. Elkhart Lake means a lot to my wife and I. I guess I saw my first race up here back in the 60s and swore that someday I wanted to be out there. Did my first race here, I guess 76 or 77, not long after we were married. We stayed here back when it was Schwartz's and when it was Barefoot Bay, and now that it's Victorian Village. And I've always loved it. I mean, this is my favorite place to go on earth. Then the humidity was high, and we all know about sprites and midgets. The bodywork doesn't like moisture. I was told that this was a brand new fender before we came here this weekend. This is me, and these are my books, and if you haven't bought them, please, because otherwise you've got to load them up and take them back to Chicago. I'm going to tell you they're great, but just ask someone that's actually read them. Seaman's famous bar. This is a print that a friend of mine did that has a lot of the racers that raced there over the years, and if you look closely, you'll see that I am the bartender, which we know can't be true because I've never been on that side of the bar at Seaman's. Also sitting at the bar in the red and white striped shirt is Big Ed Baumstein, one of the characters from my novel, sitting next to Buddy Palumbo, the narrator of my novels. And some wild things can happen at Seaman's. Later on, I'll tell you exactly how this transpired. I had just wrecked someone's car that day and came into Seaman's feeling very morose. Not wrecked badly, but it was a humiliating thing. And sitting there are about 3 people in the bar, and nothing is going on, and I had a drink or two, and I'm getting ready to go back to my room. And that's when the bachelorette party from Whitefish Bay, Wisconsin arrived. Here we are at the 50 years of MG Midgets. The Sprites and Midgets, actually the Midgets are 50, the Sprites were 50 long ago, like many of us. And the Sprite was first introduced to the press at the Grand Prix of Monaco in 1958. And it was a wonderful little car. I mean, when we used to have our shop, we used to say, you know, it's not very much money. To which the response was, yes, but it's not very much car. And a Sprite is like an elfin, pixie-ish kind of creature, which indeed the Sprite is. There has never been a car with a chummier, friendlier face than the Sprite. And they've got the handling and the feel to go with it. I love Sprites. And then they came out with the Mark II, which just didn't have, in my opinion, the same character as the old Bug-Eye. And then BMC had an idea. We'll introduce an MG version. It's the same damn car, but it's an MG. And so they created the MG Midget, and in this very period shot, you'll notice a skateboard underneath where the scissors jack normally goes. And they actually had a tradition to call on the MG Midget was a pre-war. There was the J series, the M series. Mark Brando helped me out here. I'm missing some of them. That's enough. So they had a tradition to go on, and it was basically badge engineering. So, and this is the original MG Midget, or one of them. And they did it for 2 reasons. One is to cash in on the cachet of the MG name, and the other was that there were many people that had already had an Austin Healey and would not have another. So this is a good way to do it. And now they weren't the only people to do badge engineering. Here's an MG Midget just about to be hauled into a truck to be taken to a repair facility. And underneath that MG badge, it's all Sprite still underneath. At any rate, it's great to be here. And as I wandered around looking at some of your cars our first morning here, I really enjoyed it. This one has a goiter. Noticed. Oh, I love this. Now, this should have been original equipment. I mean, really. But what I noticed is the beauty of these cars, and I said this once about minis, but it's equally true about Sprites and Midgets. They're the Mr. Potato Head of sports cars. You can doll them up any way you want, and yet you never have a pretentious vehicle. They're just fun. I also noticed that we have people that came long distances. By the way, that's a wonderful license plate frame. You can own one. Virginia, Washington. I understand we have 3 masochists that came all the way from Washington. Florida, they're in the running too. And this guy only came from Wisconsin, but I like the last open road decals, so I thought we'd put him in. And then there were the people, this is a spy photo that towed here in air-conditioned comfort. Where's the fun in that? And where's the just married couple? Now this is an example about how to go directly from the altar into marriage therapy and counseling. But in spite of the heat, you guys all had fun. You went to the car show. What was it? The Deerfly Swamp, I think. You did the autocross. Mark was stupid enough to let me drive his car, and I immediately went quicker than him. Then I gave him my speed secrets, and he went quicker than me. But I took more out of his car than he took out of my pride. So, and as I say, it's great to be here. And I love Spridgets. This is a midget from Greg Rogers' Pinnacle Racing. Actually, it's a Sprite. I can't tell the difference. At Texas World Speedway, and I had just passed this 911 in the rain. True story. Which reminds me, wait, we're not done. I thought long and hard, trying to come up with something that would appeal to an audience like this of Sprite and midget people. And then it occurred to me. Say something incredibly rude about Porsches. And there's so much to pick from. Like the old chestnut, what's the difference between Porsches and porcupines? Back in those days, people had Stevens calculators and Curta pepper grinders and stuff, but I went for the old Larry Reed's rally tables because it was only $1.98. And I thought it would be a great way to meet girls. You know, you invite a girl to go rallying with you. The idea was if you got lost, you had a perfect excuse to go flat out. Flat out. And it was easy to get lost because none of these girls would ride with me twice. So I always had an amateur navigator that had no idea what to do. And this particular rally was called Snow Safari. S'', middle of winter. It had snowed. The roads had been plowed with big piles of snow on either side. And I had this girl named Ellen Zweig who had been fixed up with on a blind date. She was my navigator. And I picked her up. She'd never met me before, and we're driving over to the starting place. And she's asking me questions like, why is it so cold in here? Isn't the heater on? How come there's ice on the floorboards? Things like, typical British car questions. And it turned out she's a pretty damn good navigator. No matter what I did, I could not get her to get us lost, and we were right on time. Right on. It was infuriating. And then our window of opportunity happened. We're going down this little middle of winter, this little desolate road, and we're supposed to turn right on North Kruger Road. And of course, a sign typical of a rally master. It's about this big and half covered in snow. And we see it as we go coasting past. Slam on the brakes, turning around, coming back to North Kruger Road, and just then, a guy from a very wealthy family named Rick Messerschmidt is coming the other way, same way we come from, in his brand new Honduras maroon with black interior, 1962 fuel-injected Corvette. And with him is his Corvette guy girlfriend. And we all know Corvette guy girlfriends, big girl, big hair, big. And he also misses North Kruger Road. Now you have to visualize this. The road we're on has got like snow like this to either side. And he just whips that Corvette out on the snow to turn it around in a big U-turn, not realizing that snow is actually filling a ditch. And we watch in awe as this 1962 Honduras maroon with black fuel-injected Chevrolet Corvette convertible, brand new, kind of goes up like this and sinks like the Ambria Doria, kind of sideways. So I look over at Zwiggy and she looks at me and we get out of the car and we walk over. Now you got to visualize this. We're looking down into this ditch at essentially the profile of a 1962 Honduras maroon fuel-injected Corvette. And I said, excuse me, do you need me help? And Rick looks up to me and says, nah, this baby's got positive traction. At which point, he revs it up, pops the clutch, and digs positive traction, digs two absolutely equal grooves in this wall of snow under him. And by that time, all the oil has flowed down to the low side of the engine. It goes into total hydraulic lock, and they're done. I asked again, could you use some help? So we get him up out of the car, and we get his girlfriend up out of the car, and put them in what is laughingly referred to as the back seat of a TR3. So his knees are essentially in his nostrils, and her, well, it's like I'm wearing earmuffs. What can I say? We drive in search of a gas station, and we find one. One guy there, one tow truck in the middle of nowhere, Illinois, late on a Sunday morning. And the guy can't believe it. I mean, he recognizes an open wound of financial opportunity when he sees it. So now Twiggy and I get back in the car behind last. And I start driving with verve, with skill, with all the skills I've amassed in, what was it, 4 months? And I'm driving to catch up, get us back on schedule, and I'm working according to the Levy rule of twice. Let me explain it to you. If the Illinois Highway Department puts up a sign with a curve on it, and underneath they put a little sign that says 40 mph, that means that somebody's old grandmother in a DeSoto with bad shocks can take that corner at 40 miles an hour. But a future world champion, driving a fine example of British sports car engineering, should be able to do it at twice that speed, no question about it. And it was working really, really well. Until we came to a crest of a little hill where one of those little corner signs had been knocked over by a snowplow. And underneath that diamond-shaped corner sign was a little rectangular sign that said 15 miles per hour. And so I crest this hill, and right ahead of me is a left turn, I mean, like that. Worse yet, it's in the afternoon now. The sun has been on the snowbank all day, and so it's melted water across the road. And now the sun is down a bit, and it's all black ice. So calling on all the skills that I'd amassed in the 4 months since I started driving, I gritted my teeth, clutched the steering wheel in a death grip, and said, Christ, we're going to die. I threw the car sideways, slammed on the brakes, and then there was this huge kahlump, and everything went black. But I knew I was still alive because I could hear Swiggy screaming at me in the most uncomplimentary way. We are now buried inside the snowbank on the inside of the corner, completely buried. No problem, I said to myself. We'll just get out and dig the car out. And I tried to open my door, but it will not budge. Swiggy, could you try the door on your side? She tries her door. It will not budge. And already I'm having visions of the spring thaw. When they find this poor TR3, by now half rusted, with 2 skeletons inside. A female and a male with the female's fingers around the male's throat. And then I have an idea. We're buried on the sides for sure, but maybe? So I open the sliding side screen and I claw my hand up like a little mole and go along the top, popping those little British pop things that hold the top on. And I got down to the last one, and the whole thing collapsed and dropped about, I'd say 400 or 500 pounds of snow in our laps. I don't think she ever went out with me again. At any rate, later on I wrote about the TR3 for Auto Week and dreamed of racing one someday, and sure enough, that was my first race car. I had a whole plague of TR3s, and I kept working on making them faster and faster, but what I wound up doing was getting cars that went faster and faster and faster for shorter and shorter and shorter periods of time. And this was my killer TR3, the one with which I was going to conquer the world. I started writing stuff about cars and mechanics. I wound up as a salesperson at Lower Motors selling Mercedes, Rolls-Royce, Alfa Romeo, and Volkswagen. This is Joe Marchetti, who started the vintage races up here at Road America. I wrote something for his program, and he put me in a Ferrari short wheelbase Berlinetta, and I wrote a story about it for Auto Week. I thought, this is pretty cool. And then I got to drive this car, the Red Van. There's only one in the world, and did a story on that. But it was neat being around all that beautiful hand-formed Italian bodywork. At any rate, we're going to step and Joe backed me in this car, which was a really good car. We won a lot of races with it. And he had this 250 LM. And I co-drove with him at Road America, and I wrote my first story for Vintage Motorsport. And then people started offering me cars to drive to write stories about their car, and I thought, well, this is pretty good. I wanted to write a book about racing forever that really captured that life, the camaraderie, the long nights in the garage, the tows, the disappointments, the fun. And I decided I wanted to put it back in the 50s, early 50s, back when the racing starts here. And those of you that have read The Last Open Road know that 3 chapters of it happened right here at Elkhart Lake, the 1952 race. And I've driven a bunch of the cars, and I mean, that's before the science of car building took over the art of car building, and I like that. And it's about a 19-year-old gas station mechanic working at this gas station in Passaic, New Jersey, who gets sucked into the world of racing. And it took me 8 years, and I finally got done with the book. And I thought it was pretty good, of course, so I sent it off to every publisher in New York, and they all turned it down. So we published it, went up to Road America with the book, had no idea how to market or distribute it. We just had a van full of books. And we made these decals, which you've seen, and we started to sell a bunch of books. Basically, these are the books. I'm not going to say anything more about them, just ask someone that's read them. This is going into its 8th printing now, which we're very, very, very proud of. And the decals, of course, we've spread the rumor that they'll make any car a second faster per lap. So we're at the end now, and basically I'm still driving other people's cars, still racing, still loving it, still writing about it. And the thing that you need to remember is that although we all love our cars, it's like I tell students in racing school, it's like in music. The car is the instrument, and the road is the piece of music that you have to play. And the real love affair isn't with the car, it's with the road. And that's the end.
Right now, we want to move to a very important part of our evening, which is a tribute to 2 Sprigiteers who some of us have known personally, and most of us have known virtually by way of the wonders of the World Wide Web. I'd like to, first of all, give the microphone to Peter Caldwell, who will tell us a little bit about Paul A. and a member who has recently passed away. And then Larry Macy will come up and give us a tribute to Frank.
He came to Chicago one time to work on someone's Morris Minor. I helped him find some parts. I met him again when we did the Buster Cluster thing in California, working on Buster's Sprite that one wonderful, magical weekend. It's a real loss to all of us. He's no longer here. He had some key phrases. One that I've taken to heart is, it only goes in one way. That was uttered several times during the Buster Cluster, when indeed, if you can look at a part, look at the assembly, it does indeed only go one way. It just really struck a chord with me. I have a letter written to us here to be read from Peter Schull. He wrote this early July. I guess I'll just read it straight out as he wanted it done. A number of years ago, on the spur of the moment, I purchased a 1959 Morris Minor 1000. Always wanted one, finally got one, and became the proud owner of an LBC. Someone had given me a Morris Service flyer that they picked up at ABFM. So off I went. Drove to the place twice, didn't see anything that remotely resembled a sign, double-checked the address, and finally figured I might as well bang on the door. This unshaven, unkempt man in pajamas and one of the world's oldest bathrobes finally answered the door. It was Paul, and he had been under the weather for a few days and looked it. I got very apologetic very quickly, but soon realized he wasn't paying attention to me because he was too busy looking over my shoulder at my car. Either your left torsion bar is adjusted properly or your left spring is broken. Let me get dressed. And that was the start of a very easy friendship. Hanging out in Paul's shop was a great way to escape and to learn something at the same time. Listening to him talk to customers and friends could be very entertaining. It got to the point that I'd yell out, "It only goes on one way," every time the phone rang. That tended to bring a little bit of scowl, but the phrase was very often included in the conversation. Paul was flown into Lake Forest to repair someone's Morris Minor, and he needed some parts. And he called me from this Bridges list. We had never spoken before. And he needed some Lucas items, and we were Lucas Warehouse, and we didn't have the parts that he wanted, but I knew a guy. And Lucas had their warehouse in Chicago, and I told him the address, and I told him who to talk to, and I told him the parts would be waiting for you on the counter. That all worked out wonderfully. He got the job done very early, and as it happens, Frank Luisi appeared in town that same weekend. And we all got together at a hotel, a very special time. Anyway, those two guys together was wonderful. And Paul, we missed very, very much.
That's a picture of Frank from years and years ago when he was working on his Blue Sprite, and it's doing a dashboard work, and that's just the way he was. He had a smile on his face whenever he was working on a car. I met Frank in 1997 on the internet. I was on the MG list, and he was on the Austin Healey Sprite list, Austin Healey car list that Mark Bradkiss has set up at autox.team.net. And Frank had sent an email to Mark and asked him to create a list specifically for sprites and midgets. And hence, in October 1997, this Bridget list was created specifically at the request of Frank. This is a picture that was taken at the little BC rally that another friend of ours, Kevin Valentine, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, and he's the one that said I had to do this, so he's now in a lot of trouble. But Frank's down in the background. This is the White Elephant gift session, and Kevin put on these rallies for several years, and they've always been a lot of fun for people on the Bridget list, and for one reason or another, they kind of got dropped, but they were always a lot of fun. Frank's wife, Diane, who many of you met this weekend, if you hadn't met her before, her and her children, Frankie and Tiffany, had come out here and brought his car specifically for being here. It was very difficult for them, but I was very happy to have them. Several years ago, a guy from England had decided he wanted to create a cheap car rally. And the cheap car rally was, the BABE stands for Big Apple to Big Easy. And we built this car for $250. And believe it or not, we built this car for $250. We drove this car. Rob Valentine, who's the person on the left-hand side of the picture is Kevin Valentine's son, and I drove this car to New Orleans. Another comment Frank made over the years: if you don't agree with whatever he says or you're mechanically challenged, buy parts and let somebody else do it. He was a big enthusiast about wanting to make sure that if you have one of these cars, you do the work yourself. He brought home cars that would look like this, and he would rebuild them. He got us involved in doing this for other people as well. He would take these pieces of junk. This is actually Tiff's car that she didn't bring in. It's a red car. It's called Ladybug, if you've ever seen it online or any place. But this is the back end of Tiff's car. Frank was very adamant about making sure that other folks would be involved in LBCs and Spridgets for a long time. At one point in time, there was a comment made on the Spridget list about somebody suggesting to Kevin that his nephew not get a car because he wouldn't know what to do with it. Frank was adamant about that, and we have to share these cars with our children, because if we don't, who will? Frank was a hell of a guy. He was always giving pieces to people. He would put pieces and parts together and create a car. In fact, at one point in time, he had a car that had a license plate that was named was Pieces. It was a conglomeration of a bunch of different cars. It had a bug-eye nose on it and a Mark II or III back end on it, and he just pulled pieces out of his garage and built his car and named it Pieces. He was always proud of his car. As many of you saw, Frankie and Tiffany were driving it this weekend. Frank was always helping people out, pushing cars around. This is at a swap meet. It's got a Ohio plate on it, but he would just volunteer for everything. On the Spridget list, somebody would ask for a part, and if he had it in his stock in his garage, he would pull it out and drop it in the mail. Drop of a hat. This was at Lotto, I think, and Frank and Tiffany, as father and daughter, as close as could possibly be. In November of 2006, he posted this to the Spridget list, and it's about what I'm thankful for. It's really long, but it really speaks well to the way Frank was with his life, with his family, and with his friends. This is an interesting story. If you're on the Spridget list, you already know this story. This is the Holy Sprite. Frank's sister worked at a church that Frank had become friends with Father Jack. And Father Jack had told Frank at one point in time that he wanted a Sprite, a bug-eyed Sprite. So Frank initiated this project, and that car and that trailer started in San Diego. And that car and that trailer was traded off by numerous people as it drove across the United States. A couple of them are in the room, or been at the show this week. Arcanes for one, a couple others, I don't know all of them, but they carried that car on a trailer. They'd meet somebody and they'd drop it off, and then they'd put it attached to another truck and then drive it across. It's about 400 or 500 miles. They'd meet somebody else and drop it off and attach it to another car and drive it 400 or 500 miles. And this is the day that the car finally made it to Toms River, New Jersey. And we'd already spent the day working on the cars. And I took the picture, so I'm not in it, but Phil Nace is in it, and he's sitting back over there in the corner. And that's Kevin Valentine with the sunglasses. And he brought the car to Toms River. About an hour and a half after that picture was taken, that body was stripped down to nothing. We just tackled that car, busted all the bolts loose, and it still has a suspension underneath it at that point when we took it off the trailer, and we had it all stripped. It was a sight to see. That's the group of us that started the project at Toms River. This was Frank's idea. The Spridget listers got together, donated parts. A gentleman that's not here this evening that we would wish would be here, who has been a very big supporter of our activities over the years, Just Ed Kaler from Just Brits. Unfortunately, he's not doing all that well with his health, and we all hope he'll get better. But he's been a big supporter of what we do for a very long time. And that's Father Jack sitting in the car with a smile on his face because he knew this was going to be his. We stripped this car and rebuilt it in about a month on weekends. That's all. That's the actual caption of this photograph is, "Would you buy a used car from these guys?" That's Father Jack in his the Holy Sprite. There is, if you join the Spridget list, or if you're not on it, if you want to go into the internet search, there's a number of stories and a number of publications about that whole thing. It was an amazing thing to be a part of. It's one of those things that makes you feel good about yourself. Again, with the Holy Sprite, Father Jack, and Frank with his typical big ass smile on his face. Frank met John Spritzel years and years and years ago. His yellow Spud had his signature in it. He met Donahue Healy years and years and years ago. This is the way Frank found Autocross. This car is actually, I don't know, if you're on the Spridget list, you've heard the story about the $500 Spridget. That's it. He restored that car with all of his parts and stuff for $500. He did it in about 3 months. And worked weekends and evenings in his own garage. And right after he passed away, that car sold in pristine condition for $6,500. This is again a lotto with his family. The only person that's not there is Frankie, because I think he probably took the picture. If you got a part that will get you home, save it. He saved old bearings, put them in his tool bag, and carried them around with him, all kinds of crazy things. Man was just a genius with working with old parts. Frank and his family in the younger years, and his yellow Buckeye. That's Frank and Tiffany sitting on the back, and Diane sitting in the passenger seat. And a character. This is the Buster Cluster, which Peter had alluded to. That was another one of Frank's projects. I think Roswell, they actually initiated it. A bunch of people got together, flew down to San Diego, and helped Buster put his car together. It's sitting in his garage for, I don't know, 20 years or something like that. They put it together on a weekend, and he got to drive it. The way Frank lived his life was he gave to people. Frank and Diane driving down the road in their family, in their life. Frank was my friend, and he will be missed.
Thank you very much. We're going to really miss Paul Esterson and Frank Clarice. To present the awards for the drag racing.
Well, the Spridget drag race, for those of you that were not there, and I'll be short with this, took place in that short lower parking lot over 35 yards. This is a traditional distance, again set up by our friend. This is one of his favorite little fun events that he came up with. We had 15 people take place in this. We hooked up a tow strap to the front of it, and the idea was, we said it was a drag race. Loop the tow strap over your shoulder or around your body and pull the Spridget up a slight incline. And you got 3 tries at it. Some of you took more because the red mist had settled. Okay. And and we just took the fastest times. Taking first place in the women's division was Tamara Haynes with a time of 7 seconds flat for 35 yards. Second place with a time of 9.8 seconds, Barb Belinsky. And third place with a time of 10.2 seconds, Yvonne Mitchell. In the men's division, unfortunately, once he put his Nike driving shoes on, and not his sandals, first place in a time of 5.9 seconds was Ron Big Calf Suave, who had to go home as previously stated. However, as Frank would have liked it, we have some younger people coming up through the ranks, as is Tamara. And as her autocross skill showed yesterday, not far behind with 6.1 seconds, Seth Jones. And in third place with a time of 6.5 seconds. But it's another Haynes, and it's Mark.
Okay, so we had 3 classes in our Autocross this year. And the first class we're going to address is the under 1200cc the 948s and 1098s out there. I was very proud to see that we actually had 5 cars in that class this time. So, 3rd place in the 948-1098 class goes to Barb Olensky. Lovely little English white Buckeye. 2nd place, and those repeat winners, Deborah Haynes, with a time of 1 minute and 14 seconds. Barb was a minute 23.8. And the fastest was Gordon, the only Gordon here, I won't even try to pronounce your last name, with a 1959 Buckeye and a 948 engine, with a time of 109.7. We then had a class with the 1275s and the 1500s. 3rd place, with a time of a minute 9.4, went to Tiffany Clarisi. 2nd place, boy, these East Coasters, you know, with a time of 109.2, another 1275, Phil Nace. And 1st place went to Frank Clarisi IV. With a time of 105.3. We then had one more class for everything else. The people who had a little bit more engine than they should have. What V6? Rod Suave's race car, tightest course he's ever driven. 3rd place went to a 1275 with a time of 103.9. John Dykus. 2nd place with a time of 103.1 goes to Trevor Jesse with the Ugly Bug. Put a supercharger on your car. And the fastest time of the day went to the Loud car with a time of 59.1 seconds. The only car to break a minute. Number 25, Ron Suave with white trash. And a couple other little details here. There's always an issue when you let somebody else drive your car. Are they going to be polite? Or is it a matter of somebody else is going to have to fix it? There were a couple cases of that. Actually, Mark did manage to beat his daughter's time, but she was in an easier class than he was. On the other hand, Neil Anderson, driving Bill Cantro's car, made the fatal mistake of beating the owner's time by almost 2 seconds. I don't think he's going to be driving that car in the competition anytime soon. And he might be walking home.
Car show. This is kind of an event that is apparently the weather gods are never smile. This is our 2nd Spridget event. And it did not rain like it did at Lotto. At Lotto, we had plans to go to the nice state park and line up on the grassy and have a big time car show. And this year, we planned on lining up in a nice open grassy field by a nice, beautiful marsh. Well, as you know, the weather, the temperatures kept climbing, and somebody decided it would be a good idea to go ahead and drain the marsh. But anyway, I don't want to drag this out because this event is not about a car show. It's about socializing and having fun. So let's get through this. All right, so we're going to do class awards first. We'll start with the 1st place in the Bug-Eye class, and that went to car, oh no, I'm sorry, it was a tie. So 1st place, one of the 1st places goes to number 14, Warple. So we have okay, and the other 1st place Bug-Eye, and they got exactly the same number of votes, but they also received a superlative, the most likely to win concourse, and I think we know why, car number 34, Linsky. award of excellence in that category, and that goes to car number 3, which is the Clerici car. Yeah, that's not a Mini. Come on, it's a station wagon. All right. All right, so then we also had the square body side screen Spridget, and we're celebrating the Midget 50th, and that was the original Midget. It was no roll-up windows, nice. I guess, I don't know how they came up with the term square body, but it's certainly not as rounded as the Bug-Eye. And what we have is, for the first place, number 31 would be Woodstock. And we'll also give an award of excellence there is number 23, Flexner. The big category there was Spridget with roll-up windows, and that's a lot of them. And they come in all shapes and sizes. Those are the ones that get somehow managed to get completely customized. So, but we had an excellent example here this year, and unfortunately he's not here tonight to collect his award. That was the first place car was number 18, and I believe his name was Sestra, Dennis Sestra. Very nice finish on that car, and he actually also collected the superlatives of best paint and best interior. So we'll make sure that we get that sent off to him. You can just leave that there. Thank you. All right. We've got a couple of award of excellences for that class. The first one I'd like to present to number 38, Dan Donahue. And I should go ahead and mention also, he won a superlative, and I know I enjoyed hearing the history of his car. Okay, so he also won that superlative for most interesting history. Also, an award of excellence goes to car number 29, J.P. Smith, with a car that squeaked into that category by his efforts to convert it to a chrome bumper. So it was a very nice job. Interesting look at. Thank you for bringing it out. All right, moving on to the rubber bumper. The first place goes to number 19, Jeff Siggers. Is he still here? Yes. And the award of excellence there in that same class, car number 7, Hendershot. Now, so JP ended up going in with the other chrome bumpers with a 1500 engine, and these two gentlemen ended up in the rubber bumpers with 75 engines. Who knew? Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, so those are the class awards. Let's do some of the other superlatives. That's fine. You're fine. Most clever modification goes to car number 40, the Kellys. And I'm guessing that's the little top that's crafted. Right? And best bling goes to car number 8, Warren. And some of you may recognize that car as a little cut-down roll bar and all sorts of other shiny bits. And, driving distance, okay? I think we have this right. We kind of talked around about it. And it's going to car number 43, Burkhart, who came from a mile further than Bill M. And Bill M won he can correct me if I'm wrong, but he won in 2005 only by 7 miles. So this year he was beat by 1 mile. So, okay. Now there was also a few special awards. These are some old pistons that I was going to polish to a real high standard, and then I got lazy and I thought, you know, I'm giving these to people that don't clean their cars for the most part. So, what's the point? All right, so here's one for, let's see, filthiest engine bay. Who won that one? Oh, that would be car number 13, Mark Haynes. Okay, now Mark, don't go anywhere. Just stand right there. Yeah, okay. All right, now, we also gave one for the Radius. Maybe he just campaigned better than other people. But we also gave one for Radius interior and weather equipment, and that goes to car number 13, Mark Haynes. All right, now we also gave one for most road crime, and I don't understand this because I don't think it really had any road crime, but for whatever reason, it got the most votes. So, is that right? Let me make sure. Most road crime, number 13. Yep, that's Mark Haynes. All right, now wait a minute, don't go yet. All right, now, let's see, where else did we get? Oh yeah, wait a minute. Most likely to score, and I thought your car looked pretty original to me, but most likely to score last at concourse. There you go. You now have a set of mismatched pistons that I would not use in anything other than paperweights, but share them with your family, have fun. Thanks for bringing your car out. All right. We had a tin worm special, and that would go to car number 4. David. All right. And I did take a couple photographs to document that so he cannot argue it. Number 9, and I hope that you honestly wanted this and I'm not insulting you, but best bodge goes to car number 9, Bill Young. Hard Luck Award. I think, you know, probably since the time people voted, there might have been some more hard luck, but I did enjoy reading, and I'm guessing other people did too, enjoyed hearing the story about Jack Orkin and his many fuel pumps. So he's going to get the Hard Luck Award. He's number 24.
It may be a hard luck award, but I feel like it's really good luck because I belong to this group. And Peter was nice enough to post his phone number and made several calls to him, and always worried. And he always said, "Don't worry about it. We'll take care of you. We'll take care of you." And while I was laying under the car changes and stuff, people would come up and give me suggestions and help. And
Best roadside spares collection, car number 11. And I can't read the last name. It's Gordon, right? Where's Gordon? Gordon. There you go. Add to your collection. All right, and then one, I figured since I went through all the trouble of getting dirty with the buffing wheel, not much of a buffing wheel, I decided I'd make my own award that didn't require voting. Chairman's Choice, that's me, for Diamond in the Rough. And, you know, many of you know my car, it's a little rattle can paint job, bug eye. Anyway, so I thought, you know, if I had to trade it for another car, to kind of start again, what would it be? And I think it would be the Orange Crate. So, Bill. Okay, so that's it for the awards. I really appreciate everybody being a good sport in the heat and showing off the cars.
Okay, this is for the silent auction items. By the way, I want to thank all of you for being so generous with your bids. We were able to raise $1,955.50, which is seed money for the next thing.
Going once, going twice, $95, where did that come from? 95, how about $100? $100. Oh, that was 100? Okay, how about $105?
125.
125. Do I hear 130? $130. I'm going twice. Sold for $125. Now,
Well, I don't know how hard I've worked, but if I don't give a thank you to my wife over there, now where are you? Working. Okay, we're just working. How's it? A big hand for Terry. As you can tell, she's the brains of the outfit and the looks and everything else, so I just play with cars. Anyway, it just sounds like the rest of you guys. We couldn't have done it, and I keep coming back to Frank, and we're here to pay tribute, but we're here to have fun too, but I also have to go back to who started the whole thing. And there's two gentlemen, and Frank is one of them, for actually getting a list going and getting most of us together. And I have to thank Jim Johnson in Dodge City for getting Lotto together, Lake of the Ozarks, for the Sprite thing 3 years ago. And he actually came up here several times and helped make arrangements. He and Larry Daniels. I also like to thank Seepkins and Road America. Sprite-Midget-Club.org is the website. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you in 3 years somewhere.
Big applause for Dave Orpel and Sherry.